Hi, and welcome to Removing the Veil. My name is Liz, and I am here with my husband, Zach.
Hello.
And today we are going to be talking about Scientology. And is Scientology a cult? I just want to say that while I was doing research on this, I found out that while Scientology calls themselves a religion, and they get a tax exemption for that, they are not a Christian religion. So
Right.
this wouldn't really, it doesn't fully fall into the category of a Christian cult,
It is a religious cult, though. Hmm.
which is something that I think is prevalent. I think it's still something we could talk about.
Hmm.
It's, we hope to kind of get more into more specifically Christian cults, I think.
Right.
But I feel like this is good to talk about
Hmm.
because it's weird how much it has in common with just any other cult,
Yeah.
Christian or not. So
Yep.
I'm going to let you start.
Okay. Well, it was founded by L. Ron Hubbard,
Yep.
um, who's kind of an interesting guy. Former military, had a very lackluster military career as a naval officer. Um, and interestingly, the Church of Scientology has went back in and said, "Oh, well, he was actually very, very good in the military. He was like the best, and he was this super secret spy and just going through doing all this." And so the Navy had to actually alter his records and make it out like he was just kind of a bumbling naval officer that wasn't good at his job to protect what he was doing and how good he was doing. So he's kind of the Joseph Smith figure for the Scientologists. And what's really interesting is L. Ron Hubbard is a science fiction writer. He actually holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the most published works by one author. Yeah, so he wrote a lot of science fiction. And, he was really into that sort of stuff. And when he left the war, he actually got involved with a man named Jack Parsons, who was a rocket scientist, but was also a follower of Aleister Crowley here in
Really?
the state. Yep. So Jack Parsons was a big Crowley fan, and he actually managed the OTO, the Otis Temple of the Orient, or whatever it was, in California. And Parsons was in contact with Crowley. There's no real clear evidence that Hubbard ever was in direct contact with Crowley, but he was going around with someone that was in close contact, and he actually was involved in the sex cult magic. And both Hubbard and Parsons were actually trying to create a Moonchild, which would, in their mind, would be the Antichrist. Someone to stop Jesus. And so he has this connection. And the what they call Thetans in Scientology, which is this alien race that is all of us, and it's like Thetans have unlimited power. They are, godlike beings, and they created everything. But he has Thetans, and then in Crowleyism you have the Thelemites, or Thelema, and it's just very interesting how close they are. And then you have the Order of the OTO, And then in Scientology, you have the OTs, as you're getting higher and higher in there, which is operational Thetan, I believe is what it's called. Being an OT is an operational Thetan. So they have these same levels that you'll see in like the OTO, the Rosicrucianists, and like Masons, like the 33rd degree Mason. Like being a 33rd degree Mason is kind of on par with being an OT8 or an operational Thetan level 8, which is the highest that you can be in Scientology. And
should we talk about what a Thetan is?
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's all of us. We are all Thetans, and
you already said that, sorry.
And they're godlike beings, and that's basically we've trapped ourselves as Thetans in these mortal bodies, and you're trying to get back to where you can realize you're a Thetan again and prevent the end of the world.
Right.
Because, and actually there was some leaked OT 8 documents, and in them Hubbard, because some people say, oh well, Hubbard was never attached to like Satanism, and he said Christ wasn't even a OT level Thetan. Christ was a like basically just a cleared Thetan. But in the leaked documents that have now become public record, because they were actually in a court case, Hubbard spells it all out. He tells the biggest secret, and he said that in this document he lays out like the events in Revelation as being a fantastical story, but also containing a lot of truth, because he says Christ is going to come back again, and he's going to lead this alien invasion called the Maccabean invasion, and that L. Ron Hubbard is going to return as who is called the Antichrist in Revelation, and he's going to have a small window when Hubbard returns as who is called the Antichrist in Revelation to thwart Christ's second coming and the Maccabean invasion. And so he paints himself as the Antichrist in Revelation, and also says that he's going to be able to thwart, or overthrow Christ, which of course we know is not true. L. Ron Hubbard is not coming back as the Antichrist. And then the Antichrist is not going to be able to overthrow Christ when he returns.
He says he's the Antichrist?
He's going to return as who Revelation paints as the Antichrist.
It's funny how all these people think that. Like even Aleister Crowley thought that he was the Antichrist.
Yep. Yeah, and so that's kind of.
I did not know that. I didn't really look up that much about the Hubbard guy.
Right. Yeah, and
I should have.
But... Well, and that was something that because I knew there was some connection to Crowley and Hubbard, and so that was one of the things I wanted to look up and see exactly what that connection was, and Hubbard, like there's a lot of weird stuff and scandals he was involved with too, and that's the thing, like around all these cult leaders is you always have these scandals that are going on as they're trying to gain control. But one thing that you and I were talking about is the Thetans that are attached to us. So what they believe is the Thetans built all the galaxies, and not just our own. And that, I think it was like 75 million years ago, there was this like leader of the Thetans called Xenu that realized like there were too many Thetans, and that something would have to be done because there was just, it was too crowded. And so what he did is he Xenu called them all in for like called them in for like taxes, basically. And it's interesting because there was a big fight with the IRS and Scientology to get, their tax exempt status. And so, they kind of paint like the taxes and Xenu like calling these people in for taxes as like this ploy to trick them all. And then he freezes these millions of Thetans and then brings them to Earth from, a galaxy far away, and then drops them in volcanoes, and then blows them up with hydrogen bombs. So he like drops them in the volcanoes and then like launches hydrogen bombs, And of course all this is coming from World War II, where he just was, where they dropped the hydrogen bomb, the atom bomb,
and just remember he's a fictional writer.
Right. And so, all of this is so fantastical. But basically what happened is it displaced all these Thetans to where they're just now in this spirit form, and they just kind of wander around the world, but they attach to things, including people. And these Thetans are what are kind of, I don't know, like I would look at them as like spiritual, like the little cockleburrs that you pick up as you walk in the woods and stuff, the little burrs that you can get them attached to you as you walk through or go through places that they're already attached. Mm-hmm. And then they cause you problems, is what Scientology teaches, and you have to go through what's called auditing, which is you going through all these bad things that have happened to start with in your life, and those are called, like, all these memories are called.
Let me see. It says auditing, resembling a blend of confession, psychotherapy, and hypnosis. Auditing is one of the central practices of Scientology, intended to increase a person's self-knowledge and remove emotional barriers tied to past experiences.
Yeah, which those are the engrams, right? Does it break down what the engram is?
The engram. Does it start with an I?
No, it's E.
Engram is a hypothetical process by which memories are claimed to be recorded in the brain, something still researched and speculated about in modern science. In the teachings of Dianetics, the engram is described as a mental picture, a recording of an experience that contained pain and some type of threat to a person's survival. Discovered through auditing, a person's engrams supposedly fit together to form a time track.
Right. So your goal is to get back to the earliest engram through auditing, and then like destroy that, and then all the links after it in the chain will also be destroyed, and those are holding you down. Like, all these engrams are holding you to where you can't be your true self.
Right, because they believe in past lives.
Right, but like they originally, in the lower levels of Scientology, the only thing you're dealing with is yourself. And basically you're going to go back to childbirth or in the womb to try and find an engram to audit and then destroy that, and then everything else will, be that comes after that will be destroyed. But then as you go and you move up to the next levels and stuff, which all of that costs a lot of money. There is a ton of money
Right.
in it.
Thousands.
Yeah, I mean, just like one set of books to go through one level of it, it's like $4,000.
It's basically like self-help.
Yep.
At the beginning, and then it kind of turns into all these other weird.
And auditing, I heard numerous figures, but auditing can be up to $800 an hour that they'll charge you to do that.
Well, the thing is that if you go in there, and if you say that you will be a Scientologist, if you sign their contracts, then they actually don't charge you for these. But if you ever decide to leave, then they will charge you. So like you being there pays for some of this.
Well, on some of the like where the people are free labor.
Right, the jobs.
Yeah, but the people that are just a part of the actual church and stuff, they have to pay for. It's the ones that are staying like room and board and are working and get the stipends of like $50 a week.
Right.
Where they're basically using slave labor.
But there's people who actually pay for it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How do they afford that?
Well, some of them are famous and others are, it's like these are rich people. But yeah, like if you leave from one of their like compounds or whatever, I don't know the actual name. I know one is like the Golden Goat or something. Who knows?
I know there's some in Los Angeles and there's some in Clearwater, Florida.
Yeah.
And there's
probably more. But if you leave from there where you've been someone that is getting room and board and all that stuff for free and working for like that small stipend, they will then send you a bill for every, because they keep tabs of everything you've been through, and then you'll get a bill for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you've been working there since you were 12. You have no life skills. So you can't, and that's how they kind of rope you back in. And then they're also very, very, very good at getting like families to tear apart.
Right. They are anti-children. They don't like children, and they do not appreciate children because they believe that because of the past lives. So they believe that if you're a child, like they understand that you're a child, but in their mind, they also are annoyed that you can't just remember that you were literally just 99 years old and then you died and now you're back. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
But so like they're very anti-children. They make these children in that are in the church sign contracts when they're 8, 9, 12 years old.
For 1 billion years of service.
Right. And then a lot of the children, they take them away from their parents at a very young age, and those kids will go live like in like a boys' home or whatever, just like somewhere like an apartment, like I mean as young as like 15 or something like that. And then they're on their own.
Yeah. And
basically it's like their parents are no longer their parents, they're just more worker bees. And which can be, thrilling for like a 16-year-old to be like, oh, I'm already on my own. But at the same time, what about for the younger ones who are ripped away from their families and put into like situations where, so basically there's so much control that everything that the parents do has to go through like everybody else. And their children have to go through these programs. And inside of these programs, they like these individuals can just decide, oh, your child is, what's the word? Your child is a suppressive person. And so they will say, now you need to take your child here and they need to work on this. Or what was the other one? I have to pull this stuff up because I don't remember. Or your child has poor ethics, so they have to go see an ethics officer and take all of these classes. And then like then they put your kid in a room with a bunch of people that they don't know, expecting them to, I don't know, tell them all their life secrets, tell them basically all their sins. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like every like bad thing they've ever thought and stuff like that. And just trying to, I don't know. It's like I mean, these are all different scenarios. I don't really know exactly like specifically, what makes a person fall into either one of these categories, but what it's weird because on one side, like when I was listening to a podcast about like the ethics side, it sounded like a really strict Sunday school where they sit down and you have to list off all your sins, and then you have to like basically, I'm using Christian terms here, but it's not
Yeah.
Christian at all.
No.
And like you have to like repent of those things. They also
Right.
believe in like that you can call in your own like bad things that happen to you. So like if you're sick, if and you're a child, whatever. If you're sick, well, they're going to ask you, well, what did you do
Right.
to cause yourself to be sick? And
Mm-hmm.
then it's almost like you have to go do penance. There's like
Right.
these things that you have to do to kind of fix that. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, well, and it's once again kind of like Mormonism, and like Catholicism that we talked about. It's all about you, right? There's this hyper
Yeah.
fixation on you, and with Mormonism, it's kind of like, oh, well, you have to get to be that God. With Scientology, it's, oh, you already are. You just have to remember, which is very New Age. That's a very New Age thinking, piercing the veil, that once you connect to the higher consciousness, and you'll understand like that nothing matters. It's just all this stuff kind of ties in together because it all comes from the same place. It has the same origin, which is Satan. And he's sitting here and he'll spin a lie however he needs to spin it in order to get you hooked on it.
Yeah, I was trying to look up what it said. I'm sure you would remember
About what?
what Scientology means. It was like knowledge and then something.
Well, it's the study of,
Is Latin for knowing,
yeah,
and logos is the study of.
yeah,
So it's the study of
knowledge.
knowledge. So it's like gnosis.
Yep.
One other thing I thought was weird was when we were talking about I have to keep going back to like what it is. The what do they call it? Like a suppressive person.
Mm-hmm.
That one was a little bit different from the ethics one. So I listened to somebody's testimony about them being a suppressive person, and the training that they had to go to get like to stop being that, I'm not quite sure, was really, which you heard part of it, was really aggressive. It's somebody yelling at them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have to like not react to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple other things that she said in there about like the process, and it reminded me a lot of MK Ultra. I don't know if you've ever looked into that, but it's basically it's like it's really bad, but it's like they're like desensitizing children to things to control them. So like they will cause trauma in order so for these people to disassociate, so then they can control them.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just a couple things that they mentioned in there that like really reminded me of that. And then just the fact that there's like what you were talking about earlier, there's all these celebrities,
yeah,
and there's all these ties in with the occult.
Mm-hmm.
In this, so-called religion. And well, I guess it is a religion, but it's just it's scary to think about probably some of the things that are actually going on,
Oh, absolutely.
in there under the guise of a religion.
The person that created it said he's coming back as the Antichrist to stop Jesus from returning. And the guy that's running it right now, I couldn't find that his wife has even been seen for years because she did something that, she made a decision while he was away that had to do with the church, and he came back and was furious that she, kind of stepped out of line, and she hasn't been seen since.
Right. Well, and these people that are evil.
Yes.
Like there are, and some of them have recently come out that they were in Scientology. But that guy from that '70s show, I only remember his name his name's Hyde on the. I don't know his real name.
Danny Masterson.
Okay, so he was a Scientologist, and he just went to court for like raping.
He's going to prison for like 25 years.
Yeah, and so, but that was like one person that came out of there, and there's been Tom Cruise is like another one. I don't really know much about what he did in there, but I've heard it's weird.
Well, he's worshipped in there. He's best friends with the leader of it, whose name escapes me right now. But yeah, so he's basically worshipped there. John Travolta is another one that's big in there. Kirstie Alley is huge. But Tom Cruise's ex-wife, Katie Holmes, she got out of there, and took the kid and everything. Leah Remini is another actress that got out of there and has since like come out with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of her stuff.
Yeah, she's founded like an organization and stuff, that to try and help. And she's someone that literally donated millions of dollars to Scientology.
Yeah. They are it's a very rich like organization. But I think they lie about the actual number of people that they have going there.
They very well could.
And they also, I don't know if you looked up this, but like people who do leave like from like the working class there that are working for basically nothing. At least those are the stories that I can say like these people left and then were chased, like hunted down to try to get them back.
Yep.
And it just, I mean, that's extreme. That's more than just your regular cult. So your regular cult is going to be like shame you for leaving,
right?
Or shun you, or be like, which they do that too. Like if you leave, like they have all of this information on you because of all of these studies or whatever, and they keep it all. Yeah, they keep all of it, and so they can, bribe's not the right word. What's the word I'm looking for?
Coerce, blackmail. They
could blackmail you with that, and they do. Sometimes they'll take like pictures of you and stuff like that, and they'll like post it and kind of like defame your name especially if you're talking about them. And then just like the hunting down thing, it's like next level culty. Like
I mean, I was uncomfortable with the pastor of that church up the road here showing up to my work, a couple of times after we stopped going there, like, yeah, we miss you guys, you should come back, and just like, no. And that to me was like uncomfortable, but like thinking about them having people following you all the time.
Yeah. Well, just they have so much. They're working really hard to manipulate the way that you think, to know a lot of information and hold it against you, and to put you in a financial debt with them.
Yep.
They're doing like everything they can possible to make sure that people are there and that they have to stay there. So it's evil.
Yes.
Just in that, then let alone with just what you said about, Hubbard being, possibly close with, or at least knowing people who know Crowley.
Yep.
Which Crowley was a, extreme Satanist, just one of the wickedest people ever.
Yes.
And then it's just with there's a lot of occultic things in it, as well. That I would say this is more than just a cult.
Yeah.
This is way more. I would say that this is probably something that's, although people have talked against it, but I would say this is something that's really similar to the end times religion. I'm not quite sure how they'll go about it, But just like from watching some of their like just recently, just a couple of their like promotional videos, it looked really like new agey.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot about aliens and stuff like
Yep.
that. And that's kind of where we're going. A lot of people are into that, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of like ex Christians, or, you know, people who have gotten out of maybe a Christian cult, are kind of going into this,
Right.
which is so weird that like we're talking about this and it has so much in common with other cults.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, obviously this isn't it, you know, but this is them trying.
Right. Yep.
So, I don't know. Was there anything else you wanted to say about it?
I don't think so. I think that exhausted my overview of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like there was like a lot that I listened to about it. I listened to a lot of people's stories.
Right. Yep. And that's what there is, you know, because
there's
it's
a
so
lot.
secretive.
Yeah.
It's so secretive, you know, and fortunately we have, as a matter of public record, some documents that kind of, you know, they spill the beans on what's really going on.
Yeah.
But, you know, without that, you just have just people coming out, you know, and saying, oh, like this is what they taught, but you wouldn't really know because there's no hard proof. There's good hard proof now.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people have taken documents with them when they left, and it's definitely being exposed. I'm sure it will die out at some point, but there's going to be another thing similar to this.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be, you know, cleaned up real nice. It's going to look really good. But oh boy, it's starting to storm out here.
Storm's moving in.
Okay, well, I think that's all we're going to talk about Scientology. I don't really think we're going to talk about this again. It was kind of just like a random thing. I really kind of want to get into more things that I feel like we understand a little bit more. Or that we're interested in.
It was a nice little detour, though.
Yeah.
It was interesting to read about, and then, yeah.
And a little creepy that it's so similar to other cults.
Right.
Christian cults, so.
Yeah, I don't think, you know, how we'll try and do, like, some pros and cons. I don't think there are any pros. I think it's all just cons. Like,
yeah,
just stay away.
I feel really bad for anybody who's in this, and I hope that they find truth. Anybody who escapes, because these kind of things, they just, they're scary and hurtful. So anyways, I guess that's it. So we'll talk to you later,
and keep running the race.
bye.